If you want a pair of wireless ANC headphones but don't want to spend a fortune, well, you don't have to, because all four here are under $100 and some of them are well under $100, and they're definitely all worth a look. So here we have the One More Sonoflow, the Earfun Wave Pro, the Final UX2000s, and the Soundcore Space 1s. I'm going to be comparing them all against each other, looking at design, the fit, the accessories, the mic quality, the sound, the ANC, everything, rating them all so that by the end of this video, you'll know if any of these are right for you. Before we go any further, I do need to point out that Soundcore, Final, and Earfun did send me their headphones to review, but the One More ones I bought myself. Having said that, no one is paying for or sponsoring this video, so you will, as always, get my honest opinion. So getting into the design and fit first, and looking at the One More Sonoflows first, they're pretty light at 250 grams, and design-wise I actually kind of like it. There's no sort of cheap shiny plastics on here, it's this nice matte finish. The headband itself has a nice soft padding on the top with a nice soft PU leather over the top as well, so it's nice and comfortable on your head. That continues through to the ear pads themselves, which again are nice and soft. The One More Sonoflows have a good amount of tilt and pivot to make sure that the ear cups have a good seal around your ears. The ear pads on these were probably a medium to small size, so if you've got big ears, these might not be right for you. I did notice with the ear pads that they do compress quite a bit, so my ears did touch the inside of the ear pads. And the clamping force on these was medium. The controls on these headphones are all physical buttons. You've got volume up and down, which is also skip forwards and backwards, play, pause, volume on and off. You've got change ANC modes as well. The power button is on the front of the ear pads here. And one of the good things about these headphones is they fold up, so that's going to make them nice and easy for fitting into your bag or fitting into the case, which we'll get to in a bit. Moving on to the Earfun Wave Pros, and again it's the same. The top, nice amount of padding, so nice and soft on your head, and the ear pads are nice and soft as well. So the Earfun Wave Pros also have a good amount of tilt and pivot to the ear cups to make sure that they fit your head well. I do notice that the ear pads on these are bigger than they are on the One More Sonoflows, so for my ears I did find them more comfortable. And whilst my ears did touch the inside of the ear pads ever so slightly, it wasn't anywhere near as dominant as it was with the One More Sonoflows. And weight wise, these are 268 grams versus the 250 of the Sonoflows. These are ever so slightly heavier. Not that you're honestly going to notice. Clamping force wise, I did notice they clamped less on my head than these Sonoflows, and these headphones do also fold up, which makes them nice and compact for putting in the case, which we'll get to in a little bit. And moving on to the Final UX2000s, well, these are the lightest out of all of these. These weigh only 240 grams, so they are super light on your head. They have physical buttons like all the others here, and they're all on the right ear cup. Again, volume up and down, skip forward and backwards, volume on and off, changing ANC modes. They've all got that similar button setup. And clamping force wise, these did have the highest clamping force out of the four that are here. Not to say that it's particularly forceful and high, it's just more than the other three. So the Finals have a good amount of tilt and pivot on the ear pads to making sure they have a good fit and seal around your ears. And the ear pads I really liked as well, because whilst they are quite small, so for my ears I did find them a little on the small side. So again, if you've got big ears, you might want to look at some of the others here. But they are nice and soft and comfortable on your head when you're wearing them. And the foam in here is a fairly decent thickness as well, so when I'm wearing them I didn't notice my ears touching the inside of the ear pads. And like the other two headphones previously, these also fold up as well. Moving on to the Soundcores, well, these are 263 grams. You've got the headband across the top, which has a nice amount of padding for sitting across the top of your head. You've got a nice amount of pan and tilt on the ear pads themselves, so making sure that they fit nice on your head. And design wise, it's okay, if a little bit bulky when compared against the others. They do, however, have the largest ear pad size out of all of these here. So if you've got particularly large ears, these are super nice and comfortable, because not only do they have the largest size, but the ear padding on here is nice and smooth. And there's a decent amount of firm foam on here as well, so your ears don't touch the inside of the ear pads at all either. And that extra size and more space does mean that it keeps your ears the coolest out of the four of these. If I'm looking for the hottest culprit, it would probably be the One More Sonoflow. The smaller ear pad size and the closest to my ears just noticed my ears heated up more than especially these. There are physical buttons on these as well, but they're on the right ear cup and the left ear cup, so I did find it a little harder to use than the other three, because you kind of forget which buttons are on which ear pad. But they've got all the essentials: volume up and down, skipping tracks, volume on and off, ANC, Bluetooth pairing. You can configure the controls in the Soundcore mobile app as well, which which we'll get to later. And like all the other three here, these also fold up. So design and fit wise, I'm going to rate the Sonoflows a C just because of the smaller ear cups, which got quite hot. The Earphone Wave Pros are a B, UX2000s are a B, and the Soundcore Space ones are a B as well. Moving quickly onto the cases and the accessories of these, and the UX2000s are definitely the least accessorized out of these four. It just comes with a USB-C charging cable and a 3.5mm audio cable as well. Following up that next are the Soundcore Space ones. They don't come with a case like these two do, they just come with this sort of soft cloth pouch, although it is felt on the inside to make it a little bit soft. Also comes with a USB-C charging cable and a color-coded 3.5mm audio cable as well. Moving on to these two, and these are both very similar. Both the One More Sonoflows and the Earphone Wave Pros cases look very similar. Opening these up, and in the pouches they both have a 3.5mm audio cable and a USB-C charging cable as well. And both of these headphones will fold up into the cases, so they're nice and compact if you're going traveling. The cases with them as well, they're nice and firm, and they're probably as good as cases that I've seen on the likes of the Sony WH-1000XM4s and the like. It's a real high quality case, and at this price that is really impressive. So for cases and accessories, it's a D for the UX2000s because it has no case, it's a C for the Space ones because it just comes with the pouch, and it's a B rating for the One More Sonoflows and the Earphone Wave Pros for the excellent case that it comes with. Now moving on to one of the most important aspects of headphones, and that is sound. Now there are some commonalities across these headphones. So they've all got 40mm drivers, they've all got high-res audio support except for one. So all of these headphones support the LDAC high-res audio except for the final UX2000s. It just supports SBC and AAC, which all the other headphones support as well. You do need to have a high-res audio source in order to benefit from that, but it's good to have that on these headphones, again, especially at this price. So sound-wise, I thought the One More Sonoflow sounded okay out the box. If you go into the One More app on your phone, there's 12 presets that you can choose from, and it's set to studio by default. If you change it to classical, it gives you a bit more of a V-shaped sound profile, so emphasizing the bass and the treble. There's also a 10-band graphic equalizer that you can go into the app to tweak the sound to exactly your preference. And I did find the sound a little bit bassy for my liking. I personally like my music to be a little more balanced and neutral. But you can still make out the lows, the highs, and the bits in between. It certainly wasn't a terrible pair of headphones. And that's the problem is, I mean, you're looking at a pair of headphones that are $100. So if I'm being honest, none of these headphones are going to be, wow, this is like awesome audio. What you're looking for is, can you get decent enough audio for under 100? And with these, I think you can. Pleasant enough to listen to, and there's enough tweaking inside the mobile app to allow you to tweak the sound profile if you need it to. If I move on to the Earphone Wave Pros, these I found a lot more neutral out of the box, less bass heavy than the One More Sonoflows. Now there are 30 presets in the Earfun app that you can choose from, although honestly it's a little bit hard to tell what each of them do. The easier thing is to just go into the 10-band graphic EQ to actually tweak the sound to your sound preference. And it didn't really matter what you listened to, it all sounded pretty good on these headphones. So whether it's something like Billie Eilish's No Time to Die, or you listen to a bit of Beastie Boys and Intergalactic, it all sounded pretty good. So the difference between this and the One More Sonoflows, I think, is the personal preference. I found these a little bit more balanced, and the One More Sonoflows a bit more bass heavy. So kind of depends what you prefer. Moving on to the final UX2000s, there's no mobile app support with these, so you are stuck with the sound signature of what they sound like out of the box, unless you jumped into the EQ of your, say, Spotify app and changed it in there. And the sound in these, without tweaking in another app, I did find fairly full, little bit muddy. So it's just a little bit thick for my liking. So I did have to go into the Spotify app and sort of tweak that a little bit, and that definitely helped. So listening to the same tracks as the earphones, you just can't get the clarity out of these, because like Billie Eilish's No Time to Die, she still sounds a little bit muffled even if you're fiddling in the Spotify app. So it is that lack of control that I think are really letting these down. I did also notice that these ran quieter than the other headphones. The other headphones all ran at about the same volume. These ran a lot quieter at the same volume on your phone. So you do have to push these a lot harder to get the same volume. Finally, moving on to the Soundcore Space ones, well, these are definitely bass heavy out of the box, no question. It is definitely a V-shaped sound profile though, because the trebles are overemphasized as well, and I would probably say even a little bit too much. So I did have to go into the Soundcore mobile app and drop that treble a bit. There are 22 different sound presets in that mobile app, as well as an 8-band graphic equalizer, so you can tweak the sound to whatever your preference is. And the vocals on here are nice and clear. There's a bass emphasis, which I think could be a little bit tighter if I'm really sort of nitpicking, but at this price point, I'm not going to complain too much. It definitely felt like a wider soundstage than the others as well. And I think that's partly helped by the size of the earpads too. It just doesn't feel as though the music's quite so compressed in your head. So rating the sound of these, it's a C rating for the One More Sonoflows and the Earphone Wave Pros. It's a D rating for the UX2000s because you don't have as much control over the sound as you do with the others. And the Space One, I think, sounded the most open, so it's a B rating for them. So moving on to ANC, so active noise cancelling, and in a pair of wireless ANC headphones, that's pretty important. Now I've tried all of these headphones in different scenarios, in coffee shops with plain noise in the background, and they do all behave slightly differently. And if we start with the One More Sonoflows here, in a cafe environment, it cancelled out that low frequency, but it let through a lot of people speaking. So there's high pitched frequencies it wasn't particularly good at. Also on an airplane, it wasn't great at cancelling out lots of that plane background noise, so the engine background noise. Cancelled out some of it, but certainly not all. And in transparency mode, I did notice you could hear people talking clearly, if a little bit muted. Moving on to the Earphone Wave Pros, and you've got 5 different ANC modes here. So you've got strong ANC, comfort or weak ANC, ambient mode, wind mode, and off. So you've got more configurable options here than you did with the Sonoflows. In a cafe environment, I found that the Wave Pros cancelled out background noise, the lower frequencies quite well, and it cancelled out people talking better than the Sonoflow. Still not fantastic, but it was definitely better than that one. So less of that higher frequency got through. And on an airplane, I found that it was one of the best headphones here at cancelling out that background engine drum of a plane. It was really good at that, again for this price. And transparency mode, I found these were pretty good as well. You could hear people nice and clear, and it was one of the better headphones in that test. Moving on to the final UX2000s, and these just have ANC on and off. It's not adjustable, it's just on or off. And in the cafe environment, it was good at cancelling out some of that background noise, but generally pretty poor at cancelling out the higher frequencies. And in the airplane environment, it was pretty poor at cancelling out that background noise as well. It's definitely the weakest at ANC out of the 4 that are here. And there's no transparency or ambient mode, so I can't rate them for that. Finally, moving on to the Soundcore Space Ones. These headphones were the best at ANC compared out of these 4. They were great at cancelling out that lower frequency in a coffee shop noise or the whir of the background of a coffee machine, and even cancelling out a lot of people talking. A little bit got through, but not much. And even in an airplane mode, it was great at cancelling out that engine hum as well. And in transparency mode, well, it was super clear. If anything, it was over amplified compared to not wearing the headphones. So super clear for that. So rating wise, I'm going to give a maybe C-, C+ to the Sonoflows and the Earphone Wave Pros. It's got to be a D to the UX2000s, and it's a B for the Soundcore Space Ones. Now it's time for the mic test so that you can hear what you would sound like if you're going to take a call on any of these headphones. You're now listening to the mic on the top of the camera so you can hear what it would sound like as the ambient sound in this room. You're now listening to a mic test of the One More Sonoflow so you can hear what it would sound like if you were to take a call on these in a quiet room. You're now listening to a mic test of the Earphone Wave Pros so you can hear what you would sound like if you were going to take a call on these in a quiet room. You're now listening to a mic test of the final UX2000 so you can hear how well this mic is going to pick up your voice in a quiet environment. You'll now listen to a mic test of the Soundcore Space One so you can hear how well this mic is going to pick up your voice in a quiet environment. You'll now listen to the mic on the top of the camera so you can hear what the ambient sound of the room is like with some ambient coffee shop noise playing in the background. You'll now listen to the mic on the One More Sonoflow so that you can hear what you would sound like if you're going to take a call on these in a noisy coffee shop environment, and how well this mic is cancelling out that background noise. You'll now listen to a mic test of the Earphone Wave Pros in a coffee shop environment so you can hear how well this mic is at cancelling out that background noise and making your voice well heard. You'll now listen to the mic on the final UX2000 in a simulated coffee shop noise environment so you can hear how well this mic is going to pick up your voice and cancel out that background noise so that you're well heard. And now you'll listen to the mic test of the Soundcore Space Ones in that simulated coffee shop noise environment so you can hear how well the mic on these headphones are picking up your voice and cancelling out that background noise. So which did you think sounded the best? Because I think in a pair of headphones that's going to cost under $100, the mics in all of these are fairly mediocre. Like, they're usable at a pinch, but I'm not going to die in a ditch over them being rated high or low. So it's a C rating all round. You can choose which one you thought sounded the best. Let me know in the comments down below. So all of these headphones have pretty good battery life, and all of them have fast charging except for one. You can work which one out that's going to be as we go through. Now the One More Sonoflow has 50 or 70 hours battery life based of ANC being on or off. Fast charging, a 5-minute charge will give you 5 hours of playtime, and it will charge up to full in 18 minutes. Moving on to the Earphone Wave Pros, that gives you 55 to 80 hours of battery time based on ANC on or off. Quick charge is 10-minute charge, gives you 10 hours of playback, and it charges up to full in 2 hours. The final UX2000s gives you 45 to 60 hours with ANC on or off, has no fast charging, and takes 2.5 hours to charge up to full. And then moving quickly on to the Soundcore Space Ones, that will give you 40 to 55 hours with ANC turned on or off. It also has fast charging, where a 5-minute charge will give you 4 hours of playback, and it charges up to full in 2 hours. So from a battery performance wise, it's a C rating for the UX2000s, a B rating for the Soundcore Space One, and it has to be an A rating for the One More Sonoflow and the Earphone Wave Pros. Connectivity wise, all of these headphones do have Bluetooth 5.3, apart from the Sonoflows, which only have Bluetooth 5.0. Having said that, in reality, that doesn't make too much of an impact to the range or the quality of your signal. They do also have multi-point, so you can be connected up to 2 devices at the same time. So if you want to listen or watch a movie on your laptop and be connected to your phone to then take a call, you can do that. You can also be connected to a device using the audio cable that came with it in the cases and the accessories. And all of these headphones have a standard 3.5mm audio cable, except for the Sonoflows, which have a 2.5mm to a 3.5mm audio cable, which I personally find a little bit annoying considering everyone else just does the standard cable. Now over an audio cable, these do change quite significantly. There is only one of these where ANC still works if you use that audio cable, and that's the Soundcore Space Ones. If you use the other 3 over a wired cable, ANC doesn't work, and it also changes the sound quite a bit, especially in these 2. These do not do well over a wired connection. Wireless is a completely different story. The UX2000s actually do okay because their sound over a wired is pretty much the same as it is over wireless. But the Soundcore Space One still having ANC working over a cable is definitely a thumbs up from me. It also has a couple of extra features that the others don't have. So it has wear detection, so when you take your headphones off your head, it will pause your music and start playing them again when you put them back on your head. It also has easy chat as well, so if you put your hand over your ear pad, it will actually lower the music, turn transparency mode on, so you can talk to someone even while the music is playing in the background. Then as soon as you take your hand off, the music goes back up to normal again and turns transparency mode off. Now this is a similar feature to what Sony have on their high-end headphones like the WH-1000 XM4s and XM5s. So seeing it on a pair of headphones that cost under $100 is pretty impressive. So from a connectivity perspective, it's a C rating for the Sonoflows and the Wave Pros, a B rating for the UX2000s, and an A rating for the Space Ones. Now a pair of wireless ANC headphones can pretty much live or die by its mobile app support, because it's typically the app that gives you all the customization options that allows you to get the most out of these. And out of all of these, there is one of them that has no mobile app. So we'll get to that in a bit. First up is the One More Sonoflow. Now that has the One More app, which allows you to select from the presets that I talked about before and the 10-band graphic EQ. I did find that 10-band graphic EQ a little bit clunky to deal with. There's a slow transition between all the different presets as well, like you can't just quickly jump between them, you have to wait a couple of seconds before it's enabled before selecting the next one. You also can't tell what EQ option you're in from the home menu, so it's just a little bit clunky to use. So it's a serviceable mobile app, just not a particularly great one. Moving on to the Earphone Wave Pros, that gives you a similar bunch of presets which I've talked about before, although you can't tell what those presets are doing to your sound because it doesn't show you like an EQ graph, so it's just a bit of a guess. You better just jumping into the 10-band EQ and fiddling with your sound in there. I did find the 10-band EQ in the Earphone app easier to use. It's just a lot easier to move the sliders around. I did also like the option of the 5 different ANC modes, and you can also customize the controls on these headphones in the mobile app as well. So that was pretty good. The final UX2000s has no mobile app support, and so, well, I can't rate that. Moving on to the Soundcore Space Ones, I think Soundcore headphones have some of the best mobile app support. It doesn't matter whether you've got their top of the range headphones or the cheaper ones, they all pretty much work with the same app. So for these headphones, you've got the 22 band presets, you've got the 8 band EQ, you've also got Hear ID, which allows you to run a series of tests to tweak the sound profile to exactly match your hearing preference. Because we all hear sound slightly differently based on gender, age, and so on and so forth. So that's really good to have, and again, it used to only be on really expensive headphones that you got that, but it's now appearing on these. You can customize the controls on these headphones as well, and there's also variable ANC and also variable transparency mode as well. So you have a scale of 1 to 5 and you can choose how strong you want the transparency mode and how strong you want the ANC as well. Again, having that on a pair of budget headphones is pretty good. And you also have the wear detection and the easy chat that I talked about before that you can enable in the app as well. So from a app perspective, I'm gonna say it's a D rating for the One More Sonoflows, a C rating for the Earphone Wave Pros, it's an F rating for the UX2000s, they don't have one, and it's a B rating for the Space Ones. So now that we've rated them all, which of these should you buy? Well, I think it depends on what's most important to you, because if ANC, especially over a wired connection, is most important to you, then the Soundcore Space Ones make a really good option. Whereas if battery life is most important, then you might look at something like the Earphone Wave Pros. And price comes into it too, because all of these headphones cost $99, except for one of them, which costs $80, and that's the Earphone Wave Pros. However, at the time of this video, well, prices fluctuate, and I've certainly seen the UX2000s closer to sort of $70, $80, and I've seen the One More Sonoflows and the Earphone Wave Pros closer down to $60. So to get that price for a pair of headphones that do this, that's really impressive. So I will put some purchase links to all of these in the description down below, so you can go check them out, see what the latest prices are, and decide what you want to get. Do let me know in the comments down below which one you end up going for. Or if there's something else that you think is better than this, let me know in the comments down below as well. If you can stretch your budget slightly further, then it is worth checking out the video up here. Thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and share it. Consider subscribing if you're not. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.